My name is John Hall. From 1991 to mid-1995, I served as chairman of the predecessor agencies of what is now the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality. I had this crazy notion that I could succeed. Never, by conventional standards, had never really seen it, had never been close to anybody who had, but I just believe that with hard work and effort, I could do things. I grew up in Washington County in a little small rural area called Washington on the Brazos, which at one point in time was the state capital. My parents and his parents were farmers, and so I grew up hauling hay and picking cotton. My great-granddad was a slave. Both of my granddads were born right after slavery was abolished, but grew up on plantations. My dad was forced to drop out of school in the third grade, and so farming was what he knew. And so when we grew up, everybody in the area were farmers, and so every family had large families. And so I grew up in a house with 9 children, 5 brothers and 3 sisters. When you grow up working on a farm from sunup to sundown, including through the summer heat of 100 degrees or more, you never encounter hard work after that. Everything else is easy. It was tough living on a farm. Everybody had outhouses for bathrooms. Nobody had air conditioners. And racial discrimination was rampant. It was unfortunately the norm. I remember when we went to town, for example, there were signs on bathrooms that said whites only or colored. My mom and dad grew up very much afraid of white people because it was dangerous not to be. But they instilled within us a set of principles about life, about integrity, about hard work, about caring for other people. And in so doing, they gave each one of us what we needed. So we grew out of that circumstance with all of us having a high level of self-confidence that we could achieve anything that we set our minds to. And there is nothing that can incentivize you to be wanting to go to college than the desire to get out of the cotton patch. I was 18 when I went to college, and I came into my own. I became very much involved in politics in college. At my 3rd month at Sam Houston State, I was selected the president of the Black Student Union and became a campus leader. That season of my life was a season where I grew up and my political views were forged. And externally, my heroes were Martin Luther King. And I always loved the Kennedy family because I think John Kennedy was probably the first president to speak out on civil rights. After I became a man, one of my heroes became Mickey Leland. Mickey would always remain humble and close to the folks that he represented. And he was the first African American to actually speak about environmental issues, at least from what I knew. And so when I took the oath of office to become chairman of the Water Commission, I recognized Mickey Leland as a person who had motivated me to work on these types of issues, which also became the basis of the Mickey Leland Environmental Internship Program. I recognized that a lot of folks, young people, were not aware of the career opportunities that exist in the environmental field. So the Mickey Leland program was initially conceived as a way to introduce African Americans and Latinos to the environmental profession. And we started off, I think, with about 35 or 40 slots. And I never would have imagined that the program would have continued to now. And I guess I take a lot of pride in that it has survived, and it is still in place, and probably more successful now in terms of slots and opportunities than existed when I was here. The history of African Americans in the United States of America, which to some degree continues today, is if you want to survive, if you want to succeed, you have to adapt to the realities of discrimination. And so when you recognize that that's the reality that many don't want to acknowledge and many don't understand, you come to recognize that if you're going to be successful, if you're going to thrive, you have to set that aside, because the conditions for success is that you're not use that as a crutch, that you deny that reality every morning, and you start a new journey. I think environmental organizations and environmental agencies will see some of their biggest challenges over the next 10 years, and how those challenges are addressed require us that we have more diversity, more Latinos, more African Americans, more Asians, more women in these jobs, so that they can bring their experiences and their sensitivity to the table, which allows us to make better policy and be more effective in implementing the tough regulations that we have to implement. Our population is growing, and it's becoming darker. If we as a state and as a country do not come to grips with our diversity, recognize the opportunity and the assets it provides, we will not continue to lead the world in terms of having one of the strongest economies, because we cannot afford to have 59% of the population of this state not producing at their potential because of something called racism. And the question is, can we, all of us, rise above our differences and accept and embrace the diversity we are, and remove any and every barrier that's keeping a young Latino, a young African American, from becoming what he and she is capable of becoming? And that's our challenge. Are we going to rise up, accept our differences, embrace our differences, and reach out and get to know each other and encourage one another and push for everybody to be successful? Because all of us can become better. All of us deserve a shot. And all of us can rise up and do great things.